Hey gamers, this is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and I'm going to do a very quick preview just discussing the solo mode for Pampero, which is a new game coming out from Julian Pombo, although I'm going to say Julian for the rest of this video. He says he likes me to use the English pronunciation of his name when speaking English, so that's what I'm going to do. So just a quick overview. Pampero is a game about wind farming in Uruguay. And basically what you and your opponents are doing is going around the map to build up infrastructure, so wind farms and electrical towers. And then you're fulfilling contracts to deliver the power that you're generating to different sectors. So you can fulfill residential contracts, you can fill industrial contracts, you can fill remote contracts, you can even fulfill foreign contracts with neighboring countries. And there's some solar contracts over here. So this is like the clean energy game. And basically as you do that, you are going to build out these towers, which opens up more types of contracts that you can get and some more bonuses as you go down. And then by fulfilling contracts, you're also going to open up these parts of the board that give you some bonuses and also offer progress. Fulfilling contracts also increases your income, which means you're going to make more money per round, and you really want that because the winner of the game is the person who has earned the most money and therefore the most points from their electric energy enterprises. So I'll do a little bit more brief talking about the game, but I'm actually not going to do a big playthrough. The reason I'm not going to is because this is close to the end of the campaign. I know people just want to know a bit more about the solo mode. And so I want to just give a very short, concise, clear depiction of how that works. And then I actually feel that there are very, very good playthroughs of this game that are already available. I particularly like the one from John Gets Games. But just to be very quick, again, you are building up your infrastructure, you're using your infrastructure or the infrastructure of others, which can cost you some money that you don't want to give to your opponents, to fulfill contracts. And you're doing it throughout these different regions of Uruguay. So you have the A regions up here. These are more rural. There's like a river that splits things. And then you've got the B and C regions. So residential and like commercial, essentially. And so as you are placing your pieces out here, fulfilling various purposes, you're also tracking your energy up and down. You can earn energy by making wind farms, you spend energy to fulfill contracts, and you're getting bonuses along this board. In order to do all of this stuff in the game, you're going to be using these cards. And the cards are actually super cool because you're using them to play to either the top or the bottom of this board. And in the case where you have options to the left or to the right. So basically, you are choosing where to put your cards based on the region. And then as you do more cards on the same row, the cost of doing the action is going to go down. So this dollar sign on all of your cards is a variable dollar sign because how much you pay depends on how far you manage to advance down this track. There are three kinds of actions you can take. The main one is always going to be a play card. You can take an action to pick your cards back up, although I actually prefer to do that as little as possible. And then you can also pass and take a battery, but don't do it. Don't do it if you don't have to, just know. There's also options to get fresh cards up here on these little markets. So you can really try to just stretch out as much of the game as possible with your cards and try to pick them up as little as possible. But the cards let you place wind farms, place electrical towers, fulfill contracts, foreign or domestic, fulfill contracts, regular or remote. Take money from investors, but be careful because you have to pay them back $30 and that's 30 points at the end, so you better be sure it's going to be worth it. There are flexible cards that let you do wind farm, tower, or contract, but they don't have some of the bonuses. You can move your bulldozers around so that you can build in places where you have your own building material, which you definitely would want. And then we're back to the wind farms. So this is actually one of those games where it's huge, everything's out here, it looks kind of complicated, but in the end, it isn't so bad. So I want to talk specifically about solo really quick. So what's going to be going on here is that this is a scoring track for a different version of the game. For solo, you're going to use goals that are also kind of an extra in the main game. So when you see special rules for scoring, these are the ones. But this is what the solo scoring track or an example of it would look like. These little tiles can change and you'll have different scoring opportunities. But right now there's only a few solo cards that have the art. So this is set up according to what's available to me right now. And that's what I've been playing sample games with. So this would be my player area, which we've done the very briefest of tours of. And then over here, we have the solo area. And this is actually where a lot of action is going to happen if you're playing this game by yourself. There is an AI called VJ Dozer that's pretty tough to play against. And I'm going to explain to you exactly why. So again, I don't want to do a huge playthrough because I want to kind of give you the tight version, but I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing from this AI so far, specifically because, yes, you can anticipate its moves, but it's so take-thatty that it's actually still really difficult to compete with, which I think is really good. So basically, you're going to have your own player stuff like normal. One thing that's very nice about the solo version of this game is that you are playing exactly as you would against another player. Everything that you do is the same. All of your actions are the same. The AI is going to act without cards. It's actually not that tough of an upkeep, but there's like a little bit of a flowchart thing going on, which is what I'm going to explain now. So this is VJ Dozer. VJ Dozer is named after Julian Pombo's children. And I'm sure his children are lovely, but this AI is brutal. So not only is VJ Dozer very much like you, but VJ Dozer is going to watch exactly what you're doing, and it's going to do that in conjunction with paying attention to the scoring conditions that are available on the board. So let me explain that. If you look over here at the scoring card, what you have going on is that VJ Dozer is pretty much going to ignore your first scoring condition for the first stage of the game. But as you come down and you hit these dollar signs, you have further scoring rounds. And these are the scoring tiles that are going to determine which solo cards you're going to play with. And so VJ Dozer's cards 1, 2, and 3 go with the first, second, and third things that you're going to score at the end of the game. And there are going to be more solo cards that are specifically tabulated to make VJ Dozer go up against you on the scoring tiles that you drew. So instead of having kind of one solo opponent that just works randomly, VJ Dozer is going to actually have goals that it sets for itself against you, which is very interesting. So basically the scoring tiles for this game are going to be most residential contracts, most wind farms, and then most remote contracts. And these are things that VJ Dozer is going to care about. So over here in the AI area, I put the cards for most residential contracts, most wind farms, and most remote contracts. And on each of these, VJ Dozer has like a little mini flow chart of what it's going to do. So just to give you some examples, I have these dice here as well. And what the dice are doing, let me just bump this up a little bit. What these dice are doing is they're tracking where I am on everything versus where VJ Dozer is on everything. So let's say that I'm the blue and gray and VJ Dozer is the black dice. Basically, there are going to be tokens for this in the real game. This is a prototype. What's going to happen is that, like, let's say that every time I get a wind farm, if I move my die up, when it's VJ Dozer's turn, it's going to notice, hey, wait, Liz has more wind farms than me? No, we can't have that. No. And it's going to go to this card and play it in order to try to catch me on wind farms. If we are tied on everything, VJ Dozer will focus on the top card. And if VJ is ahead of me on something, then it's going to be like, yeah, I got this under control. And then look for the smallest disparities between it and me in order to keep pummeling me and shoring up any weaknesses against me that it might have. So, for example, if VJ Dozer has 4 wind farms and I only have 2, and then we are tied for residential contracts and for remote contracts, then VJ Dozer is going to focus on residential contracts because it's already beating me on the wind farms. So basically, VJ Dozer is going to track how well I'm doing, track how well it's doing, and then deliberately tailor its strategy to make me sad. But in a great, this game hurts so good kind of way. I'm actually super impressed with what this is doing. So now that we know that, I'm actually going to go in and show you these cards because they look terrifying, but they're actually really, really, really not. So let's have a little zoom in and look at these cards so that you can get a sense of what you're really dealing with. So here's the first card, the most residential contracts card. And basically it's just a little flow chart with kind of a and or situation. So the first thing it's going to want to know is, are VJ Dozer's transformers blocked? And what that means is there an electrical tower blocking the construction of these transformers? So in this case, yes, there's an electrical tower that's in the way. So in order to open itself up to more play, VJ Dozer will put out an electrical tower. If VJ Dozer has transformers that are available that you use to fulfill contracts, then VJ Dozer is going to see if it has enough energy to do the cheapest contract that's available in a given region or a specific type of contract. So VJ Dozer will attempt to fulfill a residential contract that is the cheapest in an area where it has a tower. So if it doesn't have enough energy, it'll build a wind farm in order to get energy. And this is telling you how much energy it gets depending on the region where it's building. If it has enough energy, so no problem there, we're open on transformers, we've got plenty of energy, then it's going to build a contract where it has an electrical tower. And it's going to first try to build a residential contract. That's its priority. But if nothing is there that it can build that's like on its priority list, then it'll just build something cheap in the region where it has a tower. So basically, VJ Dozer is doing things that are super rational based on its need to try to beat you towards the scoring goals. And it has priorities that are specifically lined up for that. Just to kind of keep, letting you see these, because there's only 3 that exist right now, and we'll have a nice little tour. Here we have most wind farms. So if you have more wind farms than VJ Dozer, and it wants to make sure that that's no longer the case, what will happen is it will come over here, and then if it has less than 10 energy, it will build a wind farm and be like, take that, Liz, I built a wind farm. However, if it has more than 10 energy, wind farms produce energy, and you don't want to overdo that necessarily. It'll actually make an electrical tower instead, or potentially try to fulfill a contract, depending on whether it has transformers that are blocked or not, and what's available in its area. And then here again, with remote contracts, VJ Dozer is going to prioritize, does it have available transformers that will allow it to place contracts and get the rewards? Does it have enough energy to do those contracts? And so if it has transformers and it has energy, then it's going to do a contract, prioritizing the remote contracts because that's what's on the card. But if it can't do that, then it'll default to residential after that, or to contracts that are cheap and don't cost it too much energy. So there's definitely a method to VJ Dozer's madness. And that's something that I'm really liking in this as a solo game. I really love that it's got flowcharts, but not too many, and that the flowcharts are quite simple, actually, once you know what they are, and they make a lot of sense depending on what it is you're trying to do in the game. VJ Dozer is also evil in other ways that I'll describe before we take this video to a close. One is that VJ Dozer absolutely will take these bonus tiles that come from building electrical towers over here, and it will take whole columns of them, depending on the priorities listed on its cards. So get ready to get slapped. And the cards do, in fact, have priorities for things that VJ Dozer will try to take from you. So, have fun. And the other thing that's very interesting is VJ Dozer's name is quite apt for its role in the game. Because for us to build and not have to pay someone else for the building, so for us to put out more infrastructure in this game, to put out a wind farm, to put out a tower, we actually need to have bulldozers out on the board, and we need to have them in the areas where we want to build. Otherwise, you, in a multiplayer game, have to pay your opponent because you'd have to build on a place where there's a bulldozer, whether it's yours or whether it's someone else's. So in a multiplayer game, other people's bulldozers will be around and you can decide to use them or not. VJ Dozer has virtual dozer on every spot that you're not on. So you can build anywhere you want, but you have to pay VJ Dozer for the privilege, and VJ Dozer is trying to get more victory points than you. So it's super nasty and also a brilliant way to kind of bump that AI a little bit. So before I close out this video, I had some really interesting chats with Julian Pombo about this AI, and I wanted to give you some interesting facts about it so that you can decide if this is for you. So first of all, there's a token that's missing from the prototype, and I want to mention it because in your game, there's an option to take an action where you pick up all of your cards. What's interesting is that, VJ Dozer does not play with any cards, so, it won't ever have that kind of gap in its play. But you have one token per game that you can play to cause VJ Dozer to skip one turn where it's like, oh yeah, I'm picking up my cards that don't exist. So you get one turn where you can throw a wrench in the works of the VJ Dozer. And so you're going to have to time that really intelligently because you got to wait and hurt it the most because that's what it's doing to you. The other thing is that VJ Dozer is a very good player at this game. It is going to potentially beat you terribly in your early games. So I have not actually beaten VJ Dozer yet because I'm not very good at this game. But I also didn't feel bad after what Julian told me because VJ Dozer is actually quite good. So on average, VJ Dozer is going to score about 150 points. And according to Julian, 170 to 200 is a good score for an experienced player in this game. And then VJ Dozer's scoring range is about 110 to 200. So basically what that means is that there will be games where a very good player is able to beat VJ Dozer, but also given that the upper end of VJ Dozer's range is the same as a very good player, and its average is only a little bit below, so 150 for VJ, 170 for a very experienced player. What that means is that you're probably going to consistently get a run for your money for a long time with this AI, and I can't verify that because this is a Kickstarter preview. But that's the vibe I'm getting, and I'm really excited about that. Like, I think that that's very thoughtful to be thinking about, right? This is how much the AI is going to score on average. This is what you can expect from yourself when you get into the game. I'm making sure to create an AI that's going to give you a run for your money. Like, that sounds pretty good to me, and so I'm pretty sold on this. And basically, hopefully, right, this over a number of plays, this AI is going to do what it's supposed to do, which is force you to respect it as a player and like give you a full gaming experience by yourself. So again, this is a preview. I can't give this like a review that kind of indicates long experience. But what I can do is talk about what's currently intended. And so far, that does seem to be bearing itself out. I'm having quite the challenge playing against the AI. I find that its responsiveness does stymie me fairly often, and I'm appreciative of that. And so, you know, if you're looking for a solo mode, make sure that you want a heavy game. Make sure that you're willing to deal with flowcharts that are about this weight. So I wanted to make sure that you got a sense of what those are like. And other than that, I think this is going to provide some interesting play experience, especially if you like the way that it looks in play in the previews so far, because it's bearing out for me so far. So that's what I have to say about the solo mode. Hopefully this quick tour gave you the information that you needed to like make an informed decision about it. And I appreciate you watching my channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, ask questions, and most of all, happy gaming.